Abandoning China. The shocking list of airlines are halting routes to China in 2024. China's skies are noticeably quieter in 2024 as numerous countries and airlines around the globe have reduced or completely suspended flights to this major destination. But what's driving this trend? In today's video, we're exploring why airlines from Europe to North America, and beyond, are pulling back, which airlines are still flying, and what this means for global travel. Let's get started with Europe. Airlines across this region have made some of the biggest cutbacks, largely due to increased costs and reduced demand. First up, British Airways announced it would stop its London to Beijing route from late October. With rising costs and dwindling demand for business travel, BA decided to suspend flights between these major capitals, though they plan to continue their Shanghai route. The cutback marks a substantial reduction in its China routes compared to pre-pandemic levels. Virgin Atlantic soon followed, ending its long-running London to Shanghai service after 25 years. Similarly, Germany's Lufthansa halted its Frankfurt to Beijing route, citing the high costs of longer flight paths required to avoid Russian airspace. Lufthansa, however, will maintain its Shanghai services, illustrating a partial, cautious approach to China flights. European carriers are under more strain as Russian airspace restrictions have made reaching China longer and less profitable. Giving Chinese airlines a competitive edge, Virgin Atlantic soon followed suit, also suspending its London-Shanghai route indefinitely due to longer flight times, fuel expenses, and lower profitability. Virgin had operated this route for over 25 years, showing how significant the decision was. Air France has retained some flights to Shanghai but suspended routes to other cities, consolidating resources as demand fluctuates. Europe's restrictions on Russian airspace have made flying longer and costlier for these airlines, a challenge their Chinese counterparts don't face. Next up, Scandinavian Airlines, or SAS, also chose to suspend its Copenhagen-Shanghai route by November 2024. Facing similar hurdles of high operational costs and limited passenger numbers, SAS redirected its focus to profitable European and North American routes. With fewer people traveling between Scandinavia and China, maintaining this long-haul flight became unsustainable. Finally, Lufthansa has been selective in its cuts, halting only its Frankfurt to Beijing route. They're still flying to Shanghai from Frankfurt and Munich, but even these flights are less frequent than in previous years. Reflecting the economic and operational barriers of flying to China in 2024, Asia-Pacific adjustments. In the Asia-Pacific region, a few key airlines and countries have also made adjustments. Qantas, Australia's flagship airline, decided in July to halt its Sydney to Shanghai route, citing half-empty flights and limited demand. The route had become financially unviable due to high costs and low passenger numbers, pushing Qantas to shift its resources elsewhere. AirAsia Philippines announced plans to suspend all flights between Manila and China in the fourth quarter, citing a focus on more profitable routes as demand remains below pre-pandemic levels. Then there's India, where direct passenger flights to China have not resumed at all since 2020. Political tensions between India and China, particularly around border issues, have left the aviation sector with no viable pathway to restore flights. Although many other routes from India have rebounded, China remains off the table for now. Even some smaller airlines have paused routes to China. Royal Brunei Airlines, for example, halted its twice-weekly flights from Brunei to Beijing in October 2024, citing market conditions as the primary reason. As a smaller carrier, Royal Brunei faces unique pressures to maintain profitability and opted to suspend China routes until demand rises. North American Airlines, limited services and postponements. North American Airlines, particularly in the United States, have also seen reductions in their China routes. Let's start with Delta Airlines, which postponed the restart of its Shanghai-Los Angeles route. Originally slated for early 2024, Delta now plans to reevaluate in June, hoping for a rebound in demand that would justify the route's costs. Until then, Delta's services remain limited. United Airlines has also scaled back. Although they do operate some flights to China, United has reallocated part of its China-focused fleet to other destinations in the Asia-Pacific region. The shift reflects the airline's strategy to maximize profitability amid what it called dramatically low demand for China routes. Overall, flights between the US and China are down to about 20% of their 2019 levels, indicating a substantial reduction in available flights. American Airlines has been conservative in resuming flights to China, with select routes paused indefinitely. Like Delta and United, American is prioritizing routes with higher profitability, as costs for China routes remain prohibitively high. Economic and strategic considerations. Why are these flights being cut? There are a few major reasons behind these reductions. First and foremost, the Russian airspace ban has added significantly to flight times for European and American airlines. Most Chinese airlines can fly over Russia to reach Europe, cutting 2 to 3 hours off their flights and reducing fuel costs by thousands of dollars per trip. This competitive advantage has driven many foreign airlines to shift capacity away from China routes, where they can no longer compete on cost. On top of that, demand from international business travelers has been slow to return, leaving flights with fewer passengers. As China's economy grows more slowly than expected, travelers are looking elsewhere, pushing airlines to scale back in favor of more profitable routes. Middle East and Latin America, unique responses. In the Middle East, Gulf carriers like Emirates and Qatar Airways have mostly restored services to China, capitalizing on demand for stopover flights. However, smaller airlines like Kuwait Airways have chosen to reduce service. Emirates and Qatar Airways are maintaining routes to China as these routes support extensive global networks and transfer passengers. These carriers also benefit from strategic locations, allowing them to offer flights to China as part of broader connectivity strategies. Additional airlines and unique cases. A few other unique cases are worth mentioning. For example, Mexico's Aeromexico airline has yet to resume flights to China after the pandemic, making Chinese airlines the only option for non-stop routes between Mexico and China. This change highlights the broader trend of Chinese airlines dominating the market as foreign carriers retreat. And in the Middle East, while some airlines like Emirates have restored full service to China, others, such as Kuwait Airways, have cut back on less profitable routes in favor of their main hubs in Europe and North America. The operational and geopolitical factors behind these reductions are complex. Russian airspace restrictions mean that Western airlines must take longer, costlier routes to China, whereas Chinese airlines enjoy shorter, less expensive paths. Additionally, China's slower economic recovery has affected travel demand, leading to fewer passengers on many of these routes. As we've seen, the decision to halt or reduce routes to China isn't isolated to one region or a single reason. Instead, it reflects a complex mix of political challenges, high operational costs, and evolving demand. With China's slower-than-expected economic recovery and the increased operational costs for international airlines, many of these routes may remain closed for the foreseeable future. What's next? While some airlines may gradually return if conditions improve, others might focus permanently on alternate markets. One thing is certain: the global travel landscape is shifting. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on world events.